Yeah, welcome to Speaker Co-working with Speaker Hub. I am Ron Story. I am the head of membership and product at Speaker Hub. And today, this is April the 10th, Thursday, Speaker Co-working. And this is where we help speakers from around the world to get booked on more stages, to share their message and how, they build their businesses using speaking as their primary motive. I'm Ron Story again. I'm here with Angela Lewis, the head of operations at Speaker Hub. She runs our full-time team of, I think, 24 employees, and I manage a bunch of the contractors. The 18 contractors are my responsibility. There's 42 of us here at Speaker Hub that make this machine go. We help 64,000 speakers around the world to get booked on more stages. So if you're looking to get booked more, you're in the right place. Good to see you, Sarah, Laura. We always start off with the basic ritual of having everyone who's new introduce themselves. So you got 60 seconds to tell us what you do, where you're from, what you speak about, and whatever else you want us to know. So, Sarah, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hey, y'all. I am calling in from North Carolina. I help professionals who feel lost or stuck claim what they really want, communicate it with confidence, and turn it into a fulfilling reality. I do this using the skills of self-advocacy. I used to be a former lawyer on Wall Street. I left all that to find my power and claim my purpose, and I've been helping other people do the same. I taught at Duke and Emory, and my coursework in self-advocacy has been made mandatory. So I'm launching my speaking gigs on my signature talk is, what is it called? Success Through Self-Advocacy, How to Claim Your Power at Work and in Life, because I think that everyone deserves a voice and a life with purpose.
Incredible. That's incredible. Y'all see how she had her, I help this people to do this thing without this thing so they can achieve this thing. She's been practicing. It's not
You're
the
right.
first time. It's not the first time she said that. I can hear when someone has practiced and got that line down because it's the most stumbled over thing when we're trying to describe what we do as entrepreneurs. So high five, Sarah, you're always welcome. Welcome to
Thank
Speaker
you.
Up. Welcome to Speaker Co-working. Good to see you here. And
Thank
Laura,
you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
oh, of course. Yeah, you're always welcome. We do it every day, 12 o'clock, right? Laura, I don't know if you're still on the phone, but if you want to hop in and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, my name's Laura Scheidhauer. I do keynotes, training, coaching that empowers leaders to be more, live fully, and lead intentionally, championing their team so everyone can grow in a flourishing culture. And so it's about leading with empowering them to, empowering them to lead with purpose, peace, and impact.
Oh, that's incredible. And where are you located at?
I'm in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, oh, oh. See, you don't know where you at. See, we got somebody that's from St. Louis. That young lady up there, Angela, in what's the name of that arena? What's the arena where your jersey at? What
Oh,
you in the Hall of Fame and what
at SLU.
basketball?
At
SLU.
SLU.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's like a Hall of Fame basketball player at SLU. I'm
Awesome.
from I'm
My
from
daughter's
East
a
St.
graduate of SLU.
There you go.
Yep.
That's it. I'm from East St. Louis, and
Oh,
AJ is from Alton.
oh, wow.
Look at that. Look at that. See, we're all neighbors in this joint, you know. But North Carolina is still the speaker capital of the world. I talk to every three speakers I talk to are from North Carolina. I don't know what they're
Wow.
doing in Charlotte or Raleigh, but they are producing more speakers than any other place in America at this point. But welcome. Good to see you. This is where we ask a lot of questions. Um, I share a message every day, try to help people to get better. But the first thing we always start off with after introductions is wins. Did anybody have any wins in the last 24 hours? We do this every day, so it's kind of hard to keep account.
Yep. I've
What's
got a
up?
really great one.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
So, yeah, let me figure out how to perfectly explain this. So a while back, I emailed one of the staff at a school. They passed it along to the person who actually handled it. And it seemed like the conversation went dead because this happened on April the 3rd. I haven't heard back from him. But then this morning, they sent me a message and said, sorry for the delay. I just booked a meeting with you. And on the 21st, I'll be discussing with them the possibility of me coming into their school, getting paid to speak there, because it's right in New York. And I live in Philadelphia. So it's very easy for me to travel there. I won't even need a hotel depending on the time of day. And
That's
just
a big
really
deal.
looking forward to this.
Let me tell you why this is a big deal. Because last week he brought this gig up. He says, I'm pitching this gig in New York. And he was super duper excited about it. But it shows the roller coaster of this business. If you have a long-term vision, it's not going to happen tomorrow. But he was excited about the gig. I can go to New York. I can leave Philly and go up there. It'll be great. And then it went dead. And right when he thought it was dead, the Undertaker from WWE pops up and books a meeting with him, right? So high five, Lawrence. For those who don't know, Lawrence is one of our speaker scholars. Any speaker in the world that is under the age of 22, we provide free membership and access to all of our tools at Speaker Hub. So if you know any speaker that is under 22 and they're aspiring, they want to be better, they want to have access to the right tools, have them to go to Speaker Scholar. Is it Speaker Scholarship? Which one is it? What, Ange, you muted. We can't hear you.
Speaker Scholarship.
Go to speakerscholarship.com and they can set up a meeting with me and we will give them access to every tool that we have until they turn 22. We are really going to, we got to build the next generation of speakers. And I was talking with AJ this morning, and in the script that you all helped me to review last week, I talked about how my first speaking opportunity was in October of 1995 and how that one opportunity changed everything. And I didn't realize I'd been speaking for 30 years because I really don't consider myself a speaker, but I do it every day and I've done it every day for years. So, I'm going to be a bit more public about what I've done because I think we already have the results where it's not bragging anymore. It's just me telling my story. But Lawrence, high five, dude. High freaking five. That's a big deal, right? Any other wins besides Lawrence? Nicole, what's up? Good to see you. Valencia, always good. Any other wins? Anybody else got booked? Anybody did they surveys? Anybody figured out anything? What's up, baby?
I got a win, like one not for me and then one for me. The one not for me is like my daughter got in Pampers, so she's on the Pampers.
Dude, you just saved $40 a week.
Yeah, like so she's on all the Pampers swimming, and then I think we're both in the Pampers nighttime whatever. So that's my win for the week. But I got my emails better to edit it so I can get more responses back. So I got like 3 different responses just from the ones that I sent this weekend. So like I'm scheduling those for like next week and the week after. So like happy with the progress. So yeah.
High freaking five. High five. Any other wins? Anything else? Speak now, forever hold your peace. All right. Anybody else? All right.
I have a
cool.
question in the chat.
Yep. What's the question?
So Ron asks, how can I better use search tools to find local and international speaking opportunities at universities, both virtual and in person?
Yep. 1 second. Let's see. I can use search tools. Okay. So in Speaker Up Pro, we don't have universities because the people change so much. But if you want to use some of your leads, say, Ron, you got 2,000 leads with us, I think. If I can pull 500 of those, I don't want you to use all 2,000 of them on this, but I can pull 500 or so of those leads for you so that you can reach out to the universities. Or if you want to reach out to TRIO programs, Upward Bound programs, I can send you that list that's been pretty hot. Is that cool? Okay. All right, cool. I got you. So for those who don't know, I'm Ron Story. I pretty much run Speaker Hub when Angela's not looking. And, the goal is to get people booked on more stages. And we do that through a process called the Speaker Flywheel. And I want to share that with you before we get into the call, because everything that we do is based on this flywheel. And today is going to be a case study day. we're going to do a case study on a speaker that everybody knows. But what I learned the other day when I shared the story of Airbnb, we don't usually know the origin stories of a lot of flywheel is basically what I've learned from running a speakers booking agency for the last 6 years. And I learned that only two ways to generate speaking gigs. Hosts can reach out to you, which is what we call inbound, and you can reach out to the host, which is what we call outbound. Our inbound systems are basically our directory. This is where you can join the 64,000 other speakers who are members of Speaker Hub, and you can put your profile in here for the event planners to search for you. If you give it about 2 seconds, you can see there's 49 event planners currently live on the site looking through our directory for speakers. We show everything live at Speaker Hub. Why? Because this business is full of lies. So we try to show you the truth so that you can never question what we're telling you. If you see someone pitching, if a pitch goes out, it usually pops up in the bottom left corner saying, somebody just pitched this podcast or this conference. You can always see what we're doing live and what our members are doing live, mainly because we want to make you jealous. We want to make you, there it is, Salvador just pitched the Quiet Edge 1 minute ago. See, some of y'all want to do that, but you got to be a member to do it. So we want you to see the results that are happening live here at Speaker Hub. John just pitched another thing, Mental Health of America, right? So that happens live, so you can check out what we do. But I want to see, we got a challenge going on right now for 50 surveys, right? Where we're like, hey, how many of y'all are doing surveys? Anybody did more? We get 50 surveys by tomorrow. Y'all know tomorrow the deadline, right? Anybody did any?
It's by tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow by this call. Not tomorrow at midnight.
Tomorrow. Go ahead. What look, wait, I'll even be even fair. I'll extend it to Monday. So that removes all. I'll extend it to Monday because it was short notice. I know everybody got other stuff to do. Some people. Monday surveys, you got 50 by Monday. Now, let me tell you what this is. Let me bring everybody up to speed because we have some newbies in the room that don't know what the heck we are talking about. But I'm going to share it with you. This is with the speaker profile. We also have something that we call the speaker amplifier. And the amplifier is how do you use your voice to amplify your message no matter what stage you're at as a speaker. And everything as a speaker starts off with one-to-one research, understanding the topic and the audience that you're going to be talking about. And then you take that research on the podcast. That's a one-to-one conversation shared with many people. And then you take that to the small group. You use it to get press credentials and conferences, right? So what we're talking about is this first one-to-one thing. Why? Because a lot of us are not just speaking just to speak. We're trying to grow a consulting business, a coaching business, a financial advisory business. Nicole's growing her law firm with speaking. We use speaking as the entry point, as AJ likes to say, the gateway. It's not the goal, it's the gateway, right? So any updates on the number of surveys that have been done? Anybody did any more? Nope.
Brian, can you so you can track it? I've sent some, but I've sent them just from my regular email. So I'm going to send 50 from the platform. You can send them directly out of the platform.
No. What's she doing wrong? Darren, go ahead. Darren.
That's what I want to know. I haven't went back to watch the video.
I'll let Darren explain it.
Well, basically, you don't want to send them, but I did learn something today to help on Bonnie's deal. You want to schedule a call via Zoom to conduct a survey?
No, I meant the should we send the outreach email to them from there? No, because I've built the survey on Google Docs, like Google Forms, brother.
Yeah, same
and so
thing
I'm not giving them the survey. Ryan already got on me. I know I need to set up the call with them, and I've had a few people that have done it, and I've actually did the call with them, filled it out. How do I make sure that I'm putting that info into, or that the info is getting into Speaker Hub?
No, it's not supposed to be in Speaker Hub. It should be in your Google form.
Okay, yeah, then I'm good. All right.
It don't need to be in speaker up, just in the Google form. We
I
just gonna
thought I was
trust your
missing
Google
something.
form. Don't worry about it being in speaker up. That's coming down the road. We just need you doing the surveys. So
Okay,
look at Darren. Darren coaching them up already. Look at Coach
thank
Darren.
you.
Look at Coach Darren. Look at that. Any other reports on the surveys? Kevin, Valencia, anybody else been doing surveys?
I have been doing them. I have done only 3 more though. I'm
Okay.
still, but I'm building. I'm building the list. I'm getting more people now.
How many referrals you got so far?
I think like 7. And then some
High
people
five.
said, I got to chat and see, be sure
That's
it's
okay.
okay for me to give you their number, blah, blah, blah.
That's fine.
So,
7 is better than 0. Now, again, let me add some context for Laura and Sarah. At Speaker Up, we're a bit different because we're like, how do we use speaking as the way to build the business? Or people can still get paid to speak, but a lot of people when they're first starting out, they're not getting high enough fees to make it a full-time job. So we usually have to figure out a way to sell other products and services at those speaking gigs. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that all of our people know how to use their voice to generate leads, whether they're speaking or not. Does that make sense? So these surveys are helping them to generate leads for their business without even having a product. Even if you don't have a product, because you're not selling anything, you will generate referrals. So Kevin has generated 7 referrals for the future. He doesn't have a product to sell, right? Just yet. AJ, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna tell about my experience doing it. So I'm telling y'all, if y'all not doing these surveys, you missing out, like literally. I started doing them at first. I think I was like most people. I was trying to go to my cold market, and then like Ryan be like, "No, just start with the people you know." So I did that. So number one, they will literally tell you exactly what they're looking for. They will tell you exactly how to build it. Number two, like once you start doing it, you have to find your voice. So the first like 3 I did, I was like, I don't like how this sound. That ain't how I talk. Like I need to make it hot because like the people that they know me, they know I don't talk like that. They like, so I had to make it my voice. But once I made it my voice, the next one I did, I simply asked them at the end, and this is for you, Kevin, when you're talking about getting like referrals. One thing I would just ask was, hey, can you think of anybody else that would be good to take the survey? And I just paused. And I was like, I said a 3 to 5. And she gave me 3 to 5. And I was like, is that all you know? And she was like, who do we know? And gave me 23 referrals.
How cool is that?
I don't know half the people she was naming. But and then because one of the things that we do deal with is the email address, like they don't have most of their email addresses, right? So what I did was I wrote all of them down in a Facebook message as she was telling me. I just kept writing them down, And I said, I'm gonna send these to you to remind you. Just connect this in a message. And then I'll take it from there. Just let them know what I'm doing and I'll take it from there. And I like it's been pinging all day. Just like, hey, you need to talk to AJ. You need to talk to AJ. You need to talk to AJ. So yeah, 23 from 1. So I think in total, I have over 60 referrals. Just from 1.
Bananas. How cool is that? Right? How cool is that? That's a big deal. That is huge because those are 60 strangers that he didn't know that are now willing to at least listen to him to help him decide what his next topic should be about, what his next products and services should be about, and what audiences. One of the best questions on there is how do you communicate with people that do what you do? And it has associations, work groups, masterminds. Yeah. You know why you want that? Because you want to be able to know the association that has these people so you can go speak at that association. If I know, as when I was a financial advisor, we were a part of a thing called NAIFA, the North American Association for the National Association for Insurance and Financial Advisors. But nobody knows about that unless you talk to a financial advisor. But if you say, well, how do y'all get together? Oh, we go to NAIFA every month. Boom, I'm writing that down and I'm hitting up somebody in NAIFA in St. Louis so that I can go speak there. When I worked at Northwestern Mutual downtown, NAIFA was one of our main businesses. I mean, one of our main associations that we went to, right? But do you see how that comes in on the, when you ask that question, how do you network or how do you communicate with others in your group? And it asks associations, things like that. I think that's question number 9 or 10. Which one is that, AJ? Or anyone else who may have it up? It's how do you communicate with others in your group? And then we're going to get into our case study for the day. But is anybody confused? Sarah, Laura, do you know what we're talking about, or are you kind of lost? Let me know. We'll help you.
Not particularly.
Okay.
I mean, like,
right.
so do you have a set survey that everybody's using the same survey, or is everybody making their own survey?
Yep. So we use the same base survey, and I said I was going to share the link to this, in which I will. Let me pull this up. I will share the link to the paper version so that you all can make your own. And I said I would share this with you guys last week. So let me pull it up now. It's a survey that we use, and I'll bring it up. Let me see. Market survey. All right. So here's the Dropbox link. Anybody can. No, I don't want you to edit it. I want you to be able to download it. Can edit? No. Who has access? One second. Link for viewing. That's what I want. All right, cool. All right, so here's the link here. Let me put it in the chat. And what this, one moment, baby. See, you want to show everybody? Okay, show me. You want to show what you drew? It's art time with Amaya. Show. Okay. Amaya's been doing art in
baby
the background.
girl.
Show it. You don't want to see it? Okay, show
Hey,
me. Private.
superstar. We know you the boss. We want to see what you got.
Okay. Okay, you don't have to show them, but I like it. It looks great. So she's been working on her art skills. But in the chat is the basic survey, right? And what this survey is, it allows you, and you have to edit it for yourself. Does that make sense? You have to edit it for yourself, but it helps you to better understand your audience. So here you can see it talks about when I was a financial advisor. But if I pull up this one over here, if I pull up the one that everyone else is seeing, that's editable. That's a Google Doc. I mean, that's a doc file that you can edit. This is what it looks like. You start off with your statement. Do you remember when Miss North Carolina, I can't remember her name right now, she's going to kill me. Sarah, when Sarah came on, Sarah had her one line already nailed. So she would say that one line right here and then say, over the next month, I'm trying to complete a survey of 200 people in that group to learn more about the problems they face. Why? Because this is what makes a thought leader. Everybody has heard a speaker that's quoting everybody else. But what if you had your own data and research that you found out from your own surveys? That adds to credibility of what you're doing. But what if also those people who you surveyed may want to buy services and products from you in the future? So that's what this is about. So basically you take that base survey, you edit it a bit so that it fits what you're doing, and then you kind of stick to the script. You're not selling, you're just surveying so that you have your own research that makes your conversation about financial advisors, if you go speak at NAIFA, unique. It makes Nicole's research about estate planning and trust unique, because when she goes to talk about it, she could say, you know, most of the people in Louisville, they are using this type of trust versus this type. Even though in Wyoming, the Dynasty Trust is the most popular, the Charitable Remainder Trust is the most popular in Louisville. See, she didn't think I knew that. She didn't think I knew about them trust topics. I know about them. I got a lawyer of my own, right? But the moral of the story is that you get research that you can take to the stage or to a podcast that gives you your own perspective. We've all heard people that just quote everybody else. Well, John Maxwell said, the great such and such said, who cares? We hired you. If we wanted them, we would have brought them. Right? We hired Sarah. We don't care what Angela had to say about it. We want to know what Sarah Carlson has to say about it. So that's what the surveys help you to build. Is that fair, guys? Yep, go ahead. You got a question? This is wide open. You can ask questions anytime.
I'm not suggesting this wouldn't be valuable, but what if I have a good 10 years of research by teaching, coaching and teaching with students at universities and conducting research on the top, I sort of have that, like, and I think it would be valuable because just to get people to talk about those things, like to affirm it and gain clients, is that a good approach that way?
Yeah,
Does that
I mean,
make
we
sense?
use it primarily to get clients.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So how did you find out about this meeting? Was it through LinkedIn? Was it through Speaker Hub?
Speaker Hub.
Yeah. Did you fill out 30 questions?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. See, we do the surveys too, right? Because it gives us a unique insight. We've done thousands. We have about 175 people that fill that out on a weekly basis, right? So we got thousands of that research so that we can speak confidently about the issues that speakers are dealing with. So when I say 90% of speakers make under $50,000 a year, I can say it with confidence because I got 5,000 responses that say that 90% of them are under $50,000 a year. When I say 53% of speakers speak for less than $1,000 per gig, I can say that with confidence because that's what the data shows. When I can say only 13% of speakers are doing proactive outreach, pitching themselves, I can say that because that's what our data shows, right? 47% of speakers did less than 5 gigs last year, right? So we have all the data. So I can come up with these numbers and people are like, man, how you know? Well, let me show you. So now it adds credibility, it adds perspective. I become a trusted authority, right? But it also teaches me when I meet with Sarah, I know what to talk to her about. I know where she is. I know who I'm dealing with. I know what her fears, her concerns are. I know if she has other products and services outside of just speaking. Does this make sense? I know how experienced she is on podcasts versus live gigs. I know all of that. So Lawrence, go ahead.
So when you were discussing credibility, it reminded me of when you really mentioned like the importance of the language we use, such as how I used to previously use the word mental health. Yesterday on an interview for me to go speak at a place in Pittsburgh, I mentioned to the lady that even though she had programs focused around youth mental health, I specifically stated to her, I'm not a therapist, psychiatrist, or any of that. And she appreciated me stating what I am and what I'm not.
Yep.
And I remember that's something you had told me to do.
100%. 100%. The more honest you can be, right, the better off you are. They're trusting you to lead their people. They're giving you a referral to their audience. So if you go in there from a dishonest perspective and they find you out, speaking is a very small network. You're too young to have your credibility destroyed. So just be straight up. They know that you're not a 19-year-old therapist, licensed therapist. You ain't old enough unless you're Doogie Howser. Right? Unless you started when you was 12. We know you're not licensed. But for you to come out and say it, it stops a lot of the BS. Does that make sense? So way to move with integrity on that thing. That's a huge thing. I need to step away for 2 seconds to see where my daughter just ran away to because her mama's not here. Ange, can you take over? I'll be right back and we'll get into the case study. She disappeared. And I'm like, wait a minute, where did she go? All right.
No, please go find Amaya. That is very important. So any questions so far about the survey, about what we've discussed, about Speaker Hub? As we wait for Ron to get back.
And I will tell people, you can create, and I'll put it in the chat, but you can create a lot of urgency by letting them know how fast you're trying to get the surveys. What I noticed was without that urgency, people will be like, I'm gonna get back to you, let me think about it, but when I tell them I need 200 by Monday, and then they feel bad for me because they was like, well, how many have you done? I'm like, well, you my second one. It's like, yo, you behind. you need 200 by Monday. Like, so, that urgency. And then I think when you're asking for the referral, just ask who they know, right? I think that's a great way. Don't just ask who they know. Because if you're asking for the email address and all of that, it adds another layer. You see what I'm saying? Like it adds another layer of, oh, I'm like, no, who do you know? And because we started so broad, we can ask them, do they know anybody in that area? So like mine is for lead generation, but I start with marketing and then it goes all the way down to that. So um now I hope none of y'all use that and get to the 50 before I do, because I still want the $50. I started
AJ,
not to say that.
where are you finding all of these people to talk to?
You know what? I literally opened my phone. Who was the last 10 people I talked to? Because those are the people that I talk to often. So then once I went through them, it was like, well, who is the next 10? So literally, I'm literally just reaching out to people that I've already talked to. One of them is calling me right now, calling me back because I told him I need to do a thing. But yeah, that's where I'm finding them.
Okay, great. And then Nicole asked, when you guys ask for them to help, is it by phone, LinkedIn, email, and then you jump on a call?
I've sent all Facebook messages. So I'm playing with two things. I don't know which works, right? So I don't have the data to prove this, but I'm trying to see. To certain people, I'm saying, hey, I'm doing a business survey. To other people, I'm saying, hey, I got a couple business questions for you. Because I want to see what people are responding to. I know there's a network marketing company that says they have a survey and then they switch it up on you at the end. So I'm wondering if people have been burned by surveys before. So like I said, I don't have the data, so I can't tell y'all which one is working better. But I do know that people are responding from me, just saying, hey, y'all, I got this, right? I got these questions or I got this survey. So
Great. Thank you, AJ.
no doubt.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
You want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. Willie Blue.
Yeah, I'm Willie Blue, here in St. Charles, Missouri, with NSA, and I signed on with this list from Ann and her group from Lethia.
Oh, incredible, incredible. It's the St. Louis day. Me, Laura, Angela, AJ.
Yeah.
All of us from St. Louis, man. We taking over.
Okay, there you go.
It's a gang of us in here from St. Louis today. This is good. Even Lethia is from St. Louis, so that's cool. But no, good. What is it that you speak about, Willie?
Overcoming adversity is one of them, and business leadership is part of it.
Oh, that's incredible. That is super duper duper incredible. So any other questions about the surveys? Ange, can you put the video in the chat where we covered how to do the surveys last week so that people can get caught up and we don't have to go over it again? But any other questions before we get into the case study about getting booked or anything? I know Laura, Sarah, Willie, you all are new, so you probably have questions that you have. I know everyone else has been on here before. A lot of the folks here are regulars, but we usually have new people that come in every day. So we open up the floor for the next 5 minutes to any questions you all may have regarding issues with getting booked or how you plan on using Speaker Hub in the future. Nothing? Oh, this is easy. No, I'm just playing. You need any more time? If you want to ask me any questions about getting booked, we can help you. Right? So I want to get into a case study, and I like to show people how to do this because it's one of the most effective things that has kind of had a huge effect on me because I can speed up my learning, right? And how many of y'all know that we're living in an age, and it's our fault, in an age of information overload, right? Where we're contributing by making more videos, more content, more speeches. We're adding to this information overload, right? And one of the things that I want to go over is this here. This is how do we do this? So what you see here is a transcript from a video I was watching, and I thought it was incredible. And it's from this guy that we all know and respect, Dave Ramsey, right? What most people don't know is that Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University framework does $250 million in revenue a year from one course, one talk, right? But he's manifested that talk into a radio show, which is just him giving a speech every day, right? He's turned it into a YouTube channel, which is just a recording of him giving that speech every day on the radio show, right? So a lot of our speakers, a lot of the people that we respect as speakers, they're not speakers, they're empire builders. They're just using speaking as their mode of communicating the business that they're building. Does that make sense? So if you were to name any speaker, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Dave Ramsey, Lisa Nichols, they're all building a business underneath, but we see them as, oh, that's a great speaker. Yeah, he got a table in the back. He's selling a book or a course or consulting or training or something else. Stephen Covey has done $287 million from the 7 Habits, and he hasn't spoken since he died in 2012, right? But that business is still worth $400 million today because of the work that he did back in the 90s with the 7 Habits frameworks. Is that fair? So I wanted to show you all how to do case studies of the people that you admire. So the first way you do it is you find the link on YouTube, you go down here to share, and you copy this link, right? And then you come to something called YouTube to transcript. You paste that in and it gives you the transcript of the YouTube video, right? And then you take that transcript and you put it in here and you say, outline the transcript. And it makes a full outline for you. Does that make sense? So I paste it in there and now it gives me the full outline of the talk. So this is how you can go through the learnings of a 2-hour interview in 15 minutes and get it down into detail. Now, why do I want to start doing these case studies? Because I don't think you're any different than Dave Ramsey. He's just been at it for a longer time, right? So let's go through this and make sure that we're all on the same page, right? So what did Dave understand? You know, we do those surveys. What's the first thing that they bring up in the video? A statistic. He has a unique perspective. 70% of Americans want to be self-employed, but only 6% are. Why is that? Well, fear of failure, fear of risk, fear of losing their stability. People dream but don't act. Inability to take the first step or start small. We all deal with this, don't we? But he has some research to talk about why he does what he does. He's like, oh yeah, I know if we can eliminate this part, if we can make them more financially stable, maybe they can start that business down the road. Well, we never thought of Dave Ramsey as the guy who wanted to inspire entrepreneurs, but that's really what he's doing. But he knows you can't do it without financial stability. Is that fair? So in this entire interview, here's what he talks about. Early days, he filed for bankruptcy before he started speaking, right? He lost all of his money invested in real estate, flipping bad deals. He had bad deals go bad, ended up filing bankruptcy, started counseling people about how to pay off debt at church for free. A lot of us as speakers, we don't want to start speaking for free. We want to be paid, but he's got started for free. Somebody offered him $250 to come talk to restaurant managers. He realized, holy crap, they pay you to do this? Right? So what did he do? He eventually did what? Did what most of us did. He wrote a book. He catalyzed his framework, put it all into one thing. This is how he teaches how to get out of debt. This is what led him to $250 million a year in revenue. It was this book. He sold it out of the trunk of his car. Appeared on a bankrupt radio station for free to gain traction. That's called a podcast in the 80s, guys. That's all that is. Podcast is just internet radio. Internet radio didn't take off until Apple called it a podcast. But it existed before Apple coined the word podcast and made it popular. It was just called internet radio and nobody paid attention to it because it was too hard to find all the radio stations on different websites. Is this making sense? So this is his origin story, right? So I want to stop there, and I want to hear some of you guys' origin stories. Where are we starting from? My origin story with speaking started, I went to the Million Man March. A guy hopped up on the bus, explained to me and everybody on the bus how banking accounts worked. Because I decided to take one of their scholarships to go to the Million Man March for free, they required my behind at 17 to come give a speech on what I learned the following Sunday at the City Hall in East St. Louis. That's why I'm so empathetic to people like Lawrence, because somebody did this for me. That one first speech, when I was up there stumbling and mumbling, trying to tell my story, and it was like, I still remember it. People were so excited that I at least had the courage to get up there and tell it. Because you know what? All the other people who were supposed to be there to tell their story, they didn't show up. It was just me. That's my origin story. That's how I got introduced to the stage. When I realized that afterwards, people would pat you on the back, say, man, that's great. Man, keep going, man, keep going. I was like, oh, I need this. I need this in my life. That was my first speaking experience, right? All of us have an origin story, but sometimes we're a bit ashamed of it. We don't want to tell the story. We don't want to show the house we grew up in, the neighborhood we came from. That's what makes us human. We don't want to talk about when we couldn't speak very well. We don't want to talk about getting better. We want to, Ron jumped right out the womb, bilingual. No, dude, my Spanish is trash. That's my 3-year-old daughter. She'll tell you, my daddy is better in English than what he is in Spanish, right? Because her Spanish is better than mine. Does that make sense? So that's my origin story. Let's go through a few origin stories. Ange, I need you to take over because she done shut the door on me. And I don't know what she's doing on the other side over here.
I got it. No worries. No worries. Origin stories. This is so much fun. It's not something that we talk about often here. So it's really exciting to hear. So who wants to start?
I'll share mine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Nicole.
My story is similar to Ron's, and I had actually told him mine the other day. I was a teen mom. I had my son 2 days after my 16th birthday, and at that time it was in the 90s. They did not think that, and statistically, teenage moms weren't successful. You didn't graduate from college. You were a dropout. You were undereducated, unemployable, and just had a whole bunch of babies, and they expect you to be on welfare. They put my counselor in high school told my parents I was a liability. And so even though I had a 3.86 GPA and I was the first chair cellist in the orchestra and on academic teams and was a nationally ranked and awarded chess player, they sent me to the teenage parent program here in Louisville. When I got there, all the girls colored and made blankets and did baby stuff. And I never missed a day of school. The homework was super easy. And I was frustrated because I had came from advanced and honors. I ended up talking my counselor into sending me back to a regular school, but letting my son stay at a daycare there. So I was dual enrolled, graduated, got 2 full-time scholarships, 2 part-time partial scholarships, went to a prestigious small liberal arts college, and realized if anybody needs to be educated, if anybody needs a second chance, it's those teen moms, because they will affect the next generation and generations to come. So if we could get them educated, college educated, and employable and good jobs and not have to worry about being on welfare, then that would change the trajectory for generations to come. So I called the counselor who helped me to get back to regular school and graduate with honors. I called her and I said, I need you to call an all student assembly. And I need to talk to these girls because they need to know that they can do it and somebody is doing it. And so she did. I think the first time she only called the seniors. Then after that, she realized no and called everybody. So I ended up doing 2 a year after that. But one of the teachers just happened to be a former teen mom. she was a counselor, and her son is a world-renowned PhD in finance who makes major moves in the world. And he and his brother had just started a speakers bureau. And she said, she told her son, you have to hear her. He heard my story, heard me speak, asked me to speak for him. And that's how I got started. First speakers bureau, I was 18. So Lawrence, do your thing, brother. And by the time I was 20, I was commanding $5,000, $7,000 a speech. I was doing opening orientations for colleges and universities and talking to all kind of groups. So that's my origin story, and it extrapolates over. I ended up going to law, took my son to college, graduated, took him to law school, got my MBA and my law degree at the same time, still as a single mom. And it did change the trajectory for my son. Now he's a entrepreneur who refuses to work for less than $150 an hour. And so it extrapolated over into what I do today as an attorney and as a person who works with businesses, because my MBA is in entrepreneurship. So I teach people you can have a second chance, and don't let statistics and what people tell you you're going to be determine what you end up being.
Mic drop. Incredible. What a
Right?
great, I mean, look, dude, I don't even know what to say about that. That is freaking incredible, because we just never know, right? When we look at folks and we see who they are today, we don't know where they came from.
Yep.
But it's where they came from that inspires us. It gives us the confidence that we can go where we're trying to go. Right? You know how many people are using, oh, college is too hard, but not for somebody. You're saying that, and it's just you. This other person has kids, was a teenage mom, had to overcome this, got kicked out, got thought that she was dumb because she made a mistake. How stupid is that? Right? You overcome all these systematic problems to go and be incredible. Right? And then who's to know that did you say it was another teen mom that was a counselor that recognized you?
Yeah, she ended up being the counselor at the school, but it comes full circle. One of my most cherished accomplishments or case studies is, years later, I kept going back to that school. I kept helping them to institute new programs, and I would tell them I want to talk to the girls at least once a semester. And I did. Years later, a girl who heard me as a person in high school, a junior or senior in high school, ended up becoming an attorney at one of the big firms. So she listened, and she went to college, and she went to law school, and did well enough to get into one of the biggest firms here in Louisville. So for me, I was like, my words, what could have been negative ended up affecting somebody's life to be positive, and being able to see that helps me to remember and to keep going. So people need to hear your origin story, because it makes you real, it makes you relatable, but they get what I call the case of the Shirleys. Well, surely if she can do it, I can too.
That is incredible. Like, dude, especially in the world now where Instagram is your highlight reel, LinkedIn is only the positive things you've done in business, right? And we sit over like, man, they did all of that. We have no idea that they clipped out half of the stuff and they're only showing us 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So origin stories. Let's who else wants to, and again, you don't have to have this dramatic thing. My thing ain't dramatic, but it's yours. It's your story. It ain't changing. You can't go back and undo it, and you can't redo it. So get comfortable with it. I'll tell you an old Bible story that I learned a long time ago, and I thought it was incredible. And they talk about Moses leading the people through Egypt, right? And I'm like, man, nobody want to hear this story again. And one guy told a story in a way that I never will forget. And I said, holy smokes, this makes sense now. And they were talking about leading the people through Israel. And they talked about the staff. If you ever watch it in a movie, they got Moses with this stick, right? And I didn't know the origin of that stick, but the stick is where the shepherds write their history, all the states they've been to, or the countries, or the times that they did certain things. They carve it into the side of the staff. Just like on the Stanley Cup, the hockey thing, they write everybody's name on the side. That's what the shepherd staff was. It was his history. right? Of where he'd been, all the sheep he had, all of these different things. So he didn't have a checkbook or iPad. He had to write it on this, make these little signs on the side. I didn't know that. And then we've all heard about the plagues, where the plague came and he had to throw it down and pick it back up. And then the lotuses came and he had to throw the staff down. It turned into a snake and he had to pick it back up, right? And we go through that story, we really don't know what it was about. And one guy said this. He said that staff was his history, and he had to keep throwing it down and picking it back up to get comfortable with it. A lot of us ain't comfortable with where we've been. We ain't comfortable with the stuff we've been through. So we hide behind it. I wasn't comfortable talking about that I had really been a speaker for 30 years. Why? Because I hadn't gotten paid like Vernice.
Mhm.
I hadn't gotten paid like this other person. So I'm like, dude, I've been doing it, but I don't really get paid like that. I get paid on this side. But then when I realized, wait a minute, every speaker really want to be me. They don't really want to be this person. They want to be Tony Robbins. I'm more like Tony Robbins than I am like this other person who gets paid up front, because Tony speaks for free and sells his stuff. I'm more him. I'm as close as they gonna get to Tony, right? So I'm like, oh, I could just walk in this now because I ain't got the shame of 30 years of not getting paid 10 grand up front. High five for Nicole for commanding that. They don't think that highly of me. You know, they don't think that highly of my story. Does that make sense? Or maybe I don't have the confidence. I didn't have the confidence to ask for that. But what I did have the confidence to do was to get up regardless of what they were willing to pay me up front and generate my own cash from my products and services that I was able to build. So I'm getting more comfortable with this along with you guys. I tell you all this every day. I ain't better off. I'm just further down the street. I just happen to own Speaker Hub. Probably something I don't even deserve, but I did the financing to do it. So it's mine, right? Right? So we walk in the shoes that were made for us, even if they're too big. But the key is to let people know that you're growing into it. That's the whole thing with the origin story, right? Dream big and grow into it. Is that fair? Dream big, grow into it. Get used to throwing your history down in front of people. And if you're comfortable with it, it's hard for them to have to say something. Right? But if I'm up here trying to say, hey, we help NSA speakers to make $60,000 per speaking gig, I can't really talk about that because ain't nobody ever paid me 60 grand. Right? But if I can say I can take any speaker and make sure that they get paid what they're worth, no matter what audience they're in front of, I can talk about that till the cows come home. Does that make sense? So we got a couple questions, 30 seconds, Willie, and then 30 seconds, Lawrence. Cool?
Actually, I was going to do my story if that's what you wanted. Or you
Yeah, I didn't know if Lawrence had another comment. You got another, did you have a comment? Anyone had a comment on what was said before we go into the next stories? Lawrence, no? Okay, perfect. All right. So cool. Go ahead, Willie. Yep. Tell us your story, man. We want to hear it. Was
Okay.
this helpful, guys, that we talk about things like this? I know it ain't about how do you make more money. This is how you make the money. It makes you more human, more relevant, helps you to get better on stage. Go ahead, Willie.
Yeah. Yeah, I was born in Mississippi and raised here in St. Louis. And some of the houses, you talk about the houses, go back and look at the houses we were born in or raised in or something. You can't do that because all the houses we ever lived in were either condemned or should have been condemned. But my life was really rough, and I thought it was really hard. My father was really a hard-nosed individual. He used to tell me I was worthless, good for nothing, never amount to anything. He had a sixth grade education. My mother had an eighth grade education. So you would think I was doomed for destruction, for nothing. But I always wanted to achieve something, but things were falling apart. The girl I was dating wasn't there. The job I was getting kept laying us off, and I didn't want to live. I wanted to die, but I couldn't commit suicide. So I decided to join the Army because I figured I can go to Vietnam. They'll kill me for nothing. I wouldn't have to put up any effort to do it. But I got in basic training. And I found hope, I found structure, I found a purpose to live, and I wanted to live after that. When I left here, I had a GED. when I came back here 35 years later, I had a dual master's. I had a management degree in the beginning part of it. I had the dual master, but I also had an associate degree in industrial electricity. But I could have done anything. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but a lot of the things I got involved with kept failing. I had failed marriages, and as a matter of fact, the last one, I ended up being $70,000 in debt and only had $14,000 of guaranteed income coming in. And luckily, I had an opportunity to go back into the Army and do 4 more years as a retired recall. And so I got involved with Toastmasters, started speaking. I've done funerals. I've done talking about food and stuff and all that, because nutrition was one thing I really like to do. But I'm trying now to get back into get paid for what I do, because I haven't really been paid much. I was like $500 here, $100 there, something like that for speaking.
Very inspiring story on the front side for you to leave away and then come back with 2 masters. That's incredible. People need to know that and know the Army and the military gets a bad rap, but they funded a lot of my friends, their college educations and things of that sort. So the military look, it's helped my family a lot, even though I'm not a part of it. So I think sometimes we misunderstand the value of being in the military and things of that sort. But you're always welcome here at Speaker Hub. We'll help you as much as we can to make that money back. That's our thing. We want you to make the money back. You may not be able to do anything with the banks, but we'll help you to get on more stages so that you can confidently, recover. So that looks like nothing, right? Make sense? So sometimes we got to lose thousands to make tens of thousands. And then we lose tens of thousands to make hundreds. And trust me, you lose hundreds trying to make millions. I promise you. We've lost a lot trying to figure it out. So it's part of the investment, but we'll get that. We'll help you to try to turn that into a positive story, Willie. Is that cool? Cool. So guys, we're 2 minutes into overtime. This is overtime is whenever we go past 1 p.m. Eastern, we call it overtime. And that's when we continue the conversation until my next meeting. My next meeting is scheduled right now for 1:30 Eastern. So we got another 28 minutes. We can get into a few more origin stories. And then I'm going to share, we're going to go through a little bit more to see what Dave went through and how he built the business. And then you can watch that video on your own. But that's our case study for the day. Lawrence, you want to tell us your origin story? Lawrence only 19. So he gonna say, so I was born, I started walking, and then I started speaking.
Well, that's what people usually think. They're like, oh, you're really young, what happened with you? So what happened was I was 12 years old and my dad became really abusive to me and my siblings. Now, being the oldest, I obviously felt like I had to keep them safe and protect them. But I'm 12, so there's not really much I can do. And my mom and my dad have separate houses. I'm over at my dad's. My mom, she's all great, she's all good. We're talking about my dad here. And now he's becoming abusive towards me and my siblings, and it kind of forced me to grow up overnight and stop looking at myself as a child. And in making my entire life about trying to keep them safe, it caused me to feel as if I wasn't worth anything, because firstly, my dad was telling me that. The situation I'm going through in my life were telling me that. And the way I had to turn off all my emotions and thoughts about myself in order to keep me from losing my mind, it led down to this path where I became so incredibly numb, paranoid, worried that everyone was out to get me, worried I couldn't trust anybody, because when you can't even trust your own father, now it feels like you can't trust your family, you can't trust your friends, you can't trust strangers. And everyone who tried to get close to me, I would push them away, because in order for you to help me, you have to get close. But once you get close, I now run the risk of you hurting me too. So it would only get worse because I would refuse help. Eventually, however, my mom put me in therapy. And I started opening up to my therapist about it, talking to them. And at this point, we have filed multiple release reports, hospital reports, photo evidence, video evidence, evidence from schools. But the court system likes to drag their feet on this kind of stuff. Even with video, photo, DNA, all the evidence, they love to drag their feet. At 13, he kicks me out the house because I finally stood up to him. And he kicked me out of the house in front of this church. The whole congregation's coming out. Everybody's like, what's going on? And I'm just zoned out because my siblings are still going with him, even though the courts know about all of this because they have shared custody. But like I said, the courts love to drag their feet. And from 13 up to 15, everything in my life just felt like, imagine you're taking a really hot shower, but you have no skin. And every time the water hits you, it burns more and more and more and more. And you're trying to outrun your own mind, but it always catches up to you. And this eventually leads me to finally getting honest with myself and looking at the stuff I've been running from. Looking at the fact that I was running from my own fears of abandonment. Looking at the fact that I was running from this fear that everyone's going to hurt me. Running from the fact that I felt as if, how am I supposed to figure out what it means to be a man if the person who was setting that example set a really bad example for me? Through all those years of therapy, through meditation, journaling, working out, I tried every single practice under the sun because I was just trying to find a way out. Eventually I do. And start looking around and I'm like, so many people go through what I go through, but they're just afraid to talk about it. So I'll make a YouTube channel and I'm sitting there in these dirty shoes and a shirt and it's the middle of summer talking about here's how to improve your mindset and here's how to do this and here's how to build resilience and just putting it out there because I know somebody's going to need it. After some time, people wanted to interview me for podcasts and they wanted to, learn more about me. And I remembered when I was like 10 years old and there was this motivational speaker who came to my summer camp. His name's Wallow267, in case any of you want to learn about him. The guy got out of prison from a 15-year sentence and he was just motivating kids, going around telling them, hey, don't make dumb mistakes like I did. Don't end up in the streets. Don't do this. And, trying to give back to the world. And that led me into doing that because I realized that people need it. And being so young is a benefit for me because I can connect with you. I can resonate because I know what you go through since I went through it. We may have went through different versions of the fire, but I know the obstacles you're going to come across. I know that when you start getting honest with it, you have to look at some really ugly truths. Like the fact that maybe the thing holding you back the most is you're worried about what your mom thinks about you. It might be that. You're worried about the opinions of the person who hurt you. And in the years I've been doing this, I've lost track of how many people have reached out to me and said, your video from 2 years ago, I stumbled onto it on YouTube and it really helped me and my family are doing better. And, I was going through this breakup or somebody, hit me or they did this to me when I was a kid. And it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Incredible. Let me tell you something, Lawrence, or anybody else that's watching this. If you're only doing it for the money, oh man, it's the things that money can't buy, the lives changed, right? If he could save one other kid who may not be as strong as he is, that may go and harm somebody else or harm themselves, that's a speech worth giving, right? That's a speech worth giving. So Lawrence, keep going, man. Again, anything you need from us. If you know any other speakers, I talked to your one buddy who was a poet. Hopefully he's using the system. You know, anybody that you all know, Laura, Willie, anybody that you know that's a speaker, if they're under 22, we will make all of our tools available to them for free. We call it counterintelligence. And what I mean by that is we got to counter some of this ignorance out there with intelligent voices like ours. If we're not out here telling our stories, they're going to get the glorified, stupid stories from people that we don't want them. This little girl right here, I don't need her hearing Sexy Red. I don't, hey, look, it's cool music, but it ain't, I don't need her hearing that. I need her hearing Nicole, Dr. Sharon. I mean, I always call her Dr. Sharon, Sharon Brown, Jadika. I need her having great role models, Laura, right? So that's what we're trying to do at Speaker Up. We're trying to be the voice of reason in a world that just wants to fight and be divisive. So, Sharon, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, with my origin story, is pretty much grew up in a single parent household in a low income environment, and pretty much I had a good life, I would say, until I would just say I had a heartbreak, and I would say that is when things really turned around for me. And when I had this heartbreak, it pretty much, I was literally crying for 40 days and 40 nights. And I always say, remember that first week, after the first week, it wasn't about the person. It was, things within me. And growing up, I never had any ill feelings regarding my dad. And later on in life, I really discovered that it was best for him not to be in my life. But what happened during that period of time when I was crying for 40 days and 40 nights, I still had a vision to help others. And so pretty much with that breakup, that led me to yoga. And then from yoga, because I was still crying, I'm like, oh, what is this? And all of that. And so from there, I dug deeper and explored different things. And there was one particular time where I cried so much and that I wanted to stop. I was tired. I was like, why am I crying so much? And so what I ended up doing is really sitting down and going deep within me. And then I realized, oh, this is meditation. And so with that, again, I just kept learning different things and it expanded me. And then I started asking myself, what do I need healing from? Because of the fact I'm a therapist. But the other thing I want to say too is that within that, for me, I knew enough to know for me, because it's not for everybody, that therapy wasn't going to be helpful. Talk therapy wasn't going to be helpful for me at that time because there was just so much pain. And people don't talk about the visceral effect of grief and pain. And so that's where meditation and yoga came to be. And then the other part of it is too, that led me to do what I'm doing regarding self-care is that my parents' medical challenges. It was very hard and everything. And then during this time, again, I'm learning so many different things of how to help others, but in learning of how it helped me. And so during my pretty much like being a level of caregiver for my parents, if anybody who's ever been in that situation, it is so hard. And so it's like, what do you do? And so I was able to pick up some tools that was helping me along the way. And then the other thing is that too, of the reason that I'm passionate of doing what I'm doing, of having self-care conversations, teaching people about self-care, and there's so many different levels of that, is that what I have seen in my work is that from people who are homeless to executives, a lot of times we're not taking care of ourselves. We end up getting help. Individuals end up getting help pretty much when they're in a crisis, in which there are things that we can do before then. And because one thing that I had learned, especially after the breakup of crying for 40 days and 40 nights, oh, I'm not even doing those things because everything is okay. But our body really isn't about our mind, body, and spirit isn't about that. It's how we feed it with meditation, with reading, with learning, and doing all of those different things. And so my main goal really is to help people, to safeguard their sanity, to pretty much thrive, to be able to thrive, and also to use self-care as a tool to supercharge it. And so pretty much that is my origin story.
That's super cool. And here's the thing. I always tell people, you don't find your topic finds you. Right? The something that you talk about found you. You may discover it, but it found you and you realize, holy crap, I got something. Right? So I think that that's something that we forget sometimes. You got to remember, if we go back to the case study with Dave Ramsey, he wasn't looking to do bankruptcy speeches. That topic found him after he filed bankruptcy. And then somebody offered him $250 to come talk about it. Right? So then he sat his wife down and he said, ironically, her name is Sharon. And he said, look, I think I'm going to quit my job and go full time doing this thing. Here's what I think I can make. And she was like, look, we just filed bankruptcy. We're not even stable yet. But she supported him. So this highlights the importance of having a supportive partner or a support group. Even if you're not married, having a support group like this that can tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't go that far into it, but try it out a little bit first. Right? So that's the advice we give. Keep your day job until your speaking picks up. Don't just jump all the way in and risk your life financially because someone got you hyped. Right? And they saved 6 to 12 months worth of income before they did it. Right? He didn't have the savings. What he learned is that he didn't have the savings, but he had a proof of concept. He was already doing speeches and getting paid. He just knew that if he spent more time giving speeches versus selling real estate, it could probably make it where they could pay their bills. Does that make sense? Now, why is that important? We're going to get to the next two of you, but I want to cover this because a lot of these we've covered already. When I mentioned to Lawrence, this really ain't about the money. It's about who you're helping. If it's about me, how can I make this? How can I do that? Then you won't last in this business because it's already hard. But if you're married to the serving, I'm going to help people. I know that my message is needed and your income will reflect the impact that you're having, right? So businesses built for service last longer. Joy comes from helping others, not just making money. It's like, look, in business, you deal with betrayal, stress, fatigue. Look, hey man, it's only a deeper purpose that sustains you. Does that make sense? I used to be a financial advisor and I never put any of my clients in the market. Think about that. I'm a financial advisor that wouldn't sell investments because I didn't believe in it. I wouldn't put my money in the stock market, so my integrity wouldn't let me put my clients' money in the stock market. So I primarily sold insurance and annuities because I believed in insurance. I knew the effect of annuities. My mama's retired off of an annuity right now. So I only could sell the things I believed in. But I had to get out of that business because I'm like, well, I'm missing out on a lot of other things I could do that I believe in a lot more. Does that make sense? Because I didn't want to be 60 years old still telling people don't invest in the stock market. That wasn't let somebody else deal with that. There's somebody else who's better than that than me, right? So this is really, really, really important, guys. If you could go back through this talk, that first half of it is killer. The origin story, understanding what you need to do to transition. Here's why I wanted to cover this. Let me bring up the data. We talk about the data, right? Let me bring up the member data that we bring in, right? And let's look at the answers that we've gotten from the surveys all the time. The reason why I wanted to cover that he started part-time is because of this. What percentage of you all are doing this full-time? Only 1 out of 5. And they usually not coming on this call. Do you see that? 26% of the people who do our survey said speaking is just a hobby or a side hustle. Another 25% said it's an occasional thing. Another person is doing it at least part-time. So understanding that Dave Ramsey started off as a hobby, and then it became occasional, and then it became part-time, that's really important because we think that these people are better than us. No, we're just skipping the steps. Don't skip the steps. I want to know the steps. I don't want to skip them. Do you see the difference? I need to know the steps. I don't want to skip them though. Because if I skip them and I miss, I'm hurt. Is this logical or no? Laura, is this making sense? Or okay, right? So we want to use our people to say, look, let me look and do a case study at how Dave Ramsey got there. And if I aspire to be anywhere close to where Dave is, let me see where he started at this point. At Speaker Hub, we look at a company called ConvertKit. I look at their financials are public. They're a part of like this thing called Barometrics, where you can see their live financials. And I map our financials against theirs. I'm like, when they was 5 years old, here's where they were. And when they hit this point, this will happen. And our stuff follows. Why? Because you map what you model. Let me say it again. Lawrence was having an issue with his dad because he wanted to be a good man, but he didn't have a good map. So there was cognitive dissonance. How do I be a man when the man that I'm looking at ain't being a man? So we just want to show you examples of speakers or business owners that are using speaking as the way to grow their business. Does that make sense? So Dave wasn't getting paid 10 grand up front. He was making 250 bucks. And then he wrote a book. He was selling the books out of his trunk of his car. And then he did one speech. And then he did another. And then he did a bunch for free. Let's just map it out so you can find where you are, jump in at that point, and understand what the next steps are. Fair? That's my TED Talk for the day. All right, so we got a couple more people. Kevin, is this helpful, guys? We on the right page? Cool. Kevin.
Yes. My origin story was years back. I'm a journal. I've been journaling, writing down and drawing pictures to go with what I journal all my life. And years back, I was living in a friend of mine's basement, and he had a Harley Davidson. I wrote in my journal how I wanted a Harley Davidson. I drew a picture of it, and it was about a week or two later, another friend of mine came up and told me about a contest where they're giving away a Harley Davidson. And I thought, wow, this was like Twilight Zone. This is meant to be. So from there, I started. I went, found out about the contest, did everything that I could do to win that motorcycle, and it's in my garage right now, that Harley Davidson. I'm the only person I know that won a Harley Davidson, you know. And then that got me looking at my journaling habit, and like I said, and I draw, there's a picture on every single page of my journal and of everything that I've wanted. And I noticed that everything I wrote in there that I wanted to achieve, I had achieved. I wrote it in my journal first. And that's why my book that I'm writing right now, that I'm near completion of, is titled The Journaling Map to Ultimate Success. Because I view your journal as your map. Your M is for memories of the past, A is for actions of the present, and P is for plans of the future. And because it helped me overcome a drug addiction, it helped me win that motorcycle. Besides winning the motorcycle, it helped me get this big, beautiful home I live in right now. I know y'all can't see it. Trust me, it's big and it's beautiful. And it helped me to kick my drug abuse habit. It helped me become a chess champion like Nicole. I became one of the Denver chess champions, won $2,000 in a chess contest. I won, it helped me right now. So it helped me to win and do so many things. I was became a championship bodybuilder. I became a championship in boxing. And these are all on amateur levels because it helped me do so many things. I said, well, let me try boxing. I became the Golden Gloves champ way back in the day. It helped me. Let me see if I could try this chess. It helped me become a chess champ in Denver, here where I live. I said, well, let me try. And and one of the bad things about that is the enemy of being great is when you be good. Because I became good at anything I tried, so I said, I don't need to try to go any further. I'm good, But at this point, I want people to know about this technique of writing things down, like in Habakkuk. I've heard you quote it a few times. Write it in tablets and make it plain so that people may run to it. Yes, people can run to this just by writing it down, focusing on it and in my system. And like I said, and I think, and I'm pretty sure you can achieve your goals. Right now, I'm in a prison ministry. I go at least once a month to minister to prisoners here at and these are prisoners that, even though most of them will never get out, they still have value in their life and they see the value. And I'm teaching them a lot of the things and with the ministry and about writing their feelings down. And it's stopping them from killing each other, even there behind these walls of this prison, because it's a level 4 prison. And that's the only thing more serious than level 4 prison in the state of Colorado is a supermax, where they put Ted Bundy and them kind of guys. That's in Colorado too. I don't go to that one. They're not allowed to have company. But anyway, yes. And I got into Toastmasters. I win Toastmasters contest this coming weekend, not this coming weekend, on May 2nd, the third weekend, I'm going to be in the district finals of the contest for Toastmasters. All I do is write stuff in my journal, and then it keeps happening. Not just magically, but by me putting in the work. I write down in my journal the steps, and I have a process. So all of that to say this, that's my origin story, and I'm sticking to it.
Now, high five. Wait a minute. Let me say something. Let me tell y'all something. Now, y'all done seen Kevin on here every day for the last 4 years, okay? When we used to do it only on Wednesdays. Kevin ain't never told us none of this. If you don't start getting your butt on more stages, telling these accomplishments and the origin story of what we got Batman living with us and we had no clue. He walking around as Clark Kent or whatever. I don't know if it's Superman or Spider-Man, one of them. What are you doing? Kevin.
I'm working.
Like
I'm gonna get on it. I'm working on my book, but I have so many other things. Like I said, the prison ministry, I'm mentoring 16-year-olds. I'm doing a lot because my mission is to make the world better.
They need these stories, Kevin. You're a great example. I had no idea you was Floyd Mayweather. Golden Gloves. No, that's incredible, man. Dude, this is why we got to tell these stories, because you just never know who's hiding behind this face. We never know the level of discipline it takes to win. There's the song, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. That is something that needs, if you're winning so much because of journaling, why are you keeping a secret, bro?
I'm trying to write the book, but I gotta focus.
Hey, you stealing from us. You on here every day and you ain't never tell us this. I feel robbed. I got goals. He act like I ain't got goals that I can't journal about. He act like Willie ain't got goals, like Sharon ain't got goals, like Valencia ain't got goals. Kevin, hey, look, you got your prison ministry. You heard about the people with the talents? And the baskets they hit. All right, okay. All right, I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna just drop that on there and let you go look it up. But hey, man, we got to get you to talk more about the journaling thing. Let me tell you why that means a lot to me. Because I'm not a person that writes a lot, but I'm envious of people that can go back and say, man, I remember in 2019, I did this. I do a lot of cool stuff, but I forget it. But if I was journaling it every day, I would remember it more, but I just don't have an efficient system, right? So for my daughter to be able to look back, because when she turned 21, I'll be 65. For her to, she ain't gonna remember none of these stories at that time. I ain't gonna be able to tell her, I had a world-class boxing champion and a chess champion on my thing. And they was like, well, what's the chess champion name? Kevin. What's the boxing champion name? Kevin, what's the bodybuilder name? Kevin, wait, this one did all that? It sounds like 8 people. This dude is like a cat. He got 9 lives.
But it was just on an amateur level, but it
Don't matter.
it helped me get there. And I just showed that I can write about this and make it happen.
Hey, look,
And
if you'd have
now as an
thought
old
bigger, you
man,
probably would have accomplished that. Dude, like, hey, don't rob me of my ability to tell these stories, okay? So I need you to talk about the journaling so I can learn the journal so I can leave a history. For me, I'm selfishly asking. I don't care about the rest of y'all. For me. Do it for me. Because I want it. Now, y'all can listen in on it, but he gonna be doing it for me. All right. Cool. Lawrence, really quick.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think my
just
other
had a
call showed
comment
up.
about the journaling
Oh,
because
go ahead. Yeah.
that really resonates with me. So back when I was going through all my stuff, I got into journaling as a way of literally getting it out of my brain. And you get to see it on paper. And then over time, you can look back, like Ron just mentioned, you have that story timeline, and you can learn from your past. Like you can learn, okay, in the past, I was doing this. Why? I would go to these triggers. When I felt sad, I would do this, but now I don't. And by learning from your past, you can build a better future. And once you get the formula, you can apply that formula to boxing and chess championships and bodybuilding and speaking because it's the formula. You just A, B, C, D.
That's incredible. Dude, the way to sum that up, because I think we hear other people talk about it, but we don't think about how we can apply it. And usually we're just missing a system, right? All of us can make hamburgers better than McDonald's. We can't sell 1 billion of them though. We ain't got the system that can make 1 billion hamburgers. Their system is so good, they brag about how many of them nasty hamburgers they sell. On the sign, it said 18 billion sold. Like, are these crappy things? But the system is so good, it can sell, right? So if the system, Kevin, if you got a system, Willie, you got a system that can show people how they could use the military better and go back in. A lot of folks need to go back out of retirement, back into the military for extra work. That's a huge trend right now. The younger generation in the States are being replaced by retirees re-entering the market because the younger generation don't want to work. The retirees got the work ethic, right? But they're just not able to do it 80 hours a week. So they're re-entering the market on a part-time basis. One of my great friends, his dad was a police chief in St. Louis. He's back doing police work in St. Louis now, in a smaller city that he ain't gonna have to chase nobody, right? He's 70, he ain't chasing nobody, but he's still out there. But he's back in the workforce. Not that he needed to be, but that he could. He still had the mobility and could. So instead of sitting at home watching Netflix, he out there being McGruff the crime dog, So shout out to Mr. Cottry for the work he's doing, helping again. Valencia, what's your origin story? Go ahead. My appointment didn't show up, so we're gonna keep this origin story running because I think it's important for us to be comfortable telling our story. We are holding back blessings from people by not sharing.
Yes.
All right. See you later, Laura. Laura, you're always welcome. You come back any day. We got you.
So I'm gonna tell you, journaling saved my life. Okay, so I'm squirming in my seat with Kevin because I'm like, I need that book. Okay, so listen, about 7 years ago, I was really at my lowest point, right? And I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my life. I lost my mom at age 7. I came from an abusive marriage. So a lot of things were happening, right? It happened to me. And I started reflecting on those things over and over again before I would even wake up very well in the morning. I was thinking about all my problems and things. And I had just gotten to a point where I was ready to say bye-bye to this world 7 years ago. And I set my date, everything, right? I gave myself a week. And I ran across a video where a woman was talking about how she started practicing gratitude. And I said, there's no way that's going to work. She said, start, thinking about good things that are happening in your life. I'm like, there's no way that's going to work. But all of a sudden in an inkling, I got just a download and it said, why don't you write it down? Well, I hadn't kept a journal since I was 7 years old. Okay. Didn't think it was going to work, but I just said, you know what? Why don't I just write down 3 to 5 things I'm grateful for every day in the morning? Right. I did that for 5 days. Guys, I felt this much better, to the point by the end of that week where I said, you know what? I'll just delay what I was going to do the next week. I don't think it's this me writing this down, but I'll try it another week and just see how I feel. I did it another week. I felt better. Another week, better. By the end of that month, y'all, I wanted to live. Nobody could tell me otherwise. Okay. And so I knew that I had something. I just didn't understand what, because everything in my life was the same. Relationships that didn't work, job that I didn't like, money that I didn't have. Everything was the same, but I was smiling. I was happy. And so I went on to become a neuroencoding specialist, where now I understand and know how I actually programmed myself to feel bad all those years. But now I program myself to feel great about the world that's around me. And so, I mean, I've spoken on different stages and whatnot about this. And, you know, I just feel like I have more purpose in my life and I want to just get that out to the world. And so I'm happy. I can truly say that I'm happy now. So, Kevin, I need that book because there's magic in what you got. All right. Thank you.
Keep muting myself. Holy crap, that is huge. Well, look, we glad you're here. Let me tell you that. If don't nobody else tell you that, I'm glad that you gave yourself a week. Right? I'm glad you gave yourself that week because we wouldn't have you, right? So you're always welcome here at Speaker Hub. If at any time you feel like you need to put yourself back on the calendar for another week, come to these meetings. We will all give you a hug. I don't know where you at, but we'll find somebody to come over there to take you to lunch and give you the hug you need. But high five on winning, right? High five on overcoming. That's what this is about, guys. Somebody needs to hear that story. You know, Ange, can you take over my delivery just got here? One moment.
Yep, sure. Absolutely. So as Ron was saying, someone needs to hear your story, and we all have them. And a lot of times the little things that we kind of dismiss are actually really important and can positively impact someone else. Is there anyone else who would like to share their origin story? No one else?
I mean, I have a comment about that, about Valencia's story there.
Sure, absolutely.
So when you just brought up the idea of how we program ourselves to be happy, or we program ourselves to be sad, even though everything in your life was the exact same, you just reprogrammed it. That is an insight that a lot of people need to hear, because it's like the first thing a lot of times we do, and I used to do this too, is we wake up, we grab our phone, we see something on Instagram like, girl, you heard about what so-and-so did, or you heard about what this man did, or you saw this thing or that thing on the news, or all these things. And like, fresh out of bed, you're pouring negativity into your mind. Our life would be a whole lot different if instead we got out of bed, got the crust out of our eyes, brushed our teeth, and then we checked on what's happening. Because we haven't even checked if we're alive yet, but we're already checking on what's going on in somebody else's life. And you only see what people tell you or what they show you.
100%.
So this notion of like programming ourselves, all of us can use that in some sort of way. You know, instead of impulsively grabbing the soda, how about we grab the water bottle, and eventually we'll start wanting more water.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful, the impact of all the little things have on us. You obviously know. Well, some of you all don't know. Background in sport, and so the ability to train and show up and do the same things over and over and over again really makes a big difference in our overall experience. I guess if no one else wants to share an origin story, I'll share mine. A few defining moments. The most defining moment, you can't tell because I'm sitting here, but I'm 6'1". And I've been, yes, see y'all's faces. Everyone does that. I've been 6'1" since I was 12 years old. Yes. Since I was 12, I've been this tall. And so as you can imagine, back in the 90s, being 6'1" and a girl wasn't as cool as it is these days. And so I felt really kind of awkward and uncomfortable because I stood head and shoulders above pretty much everyone that I encountered at school, teachers, and friends. And one day I was walking out of Blockbuster Video. Those who are my generation remember Blockbuster. Was walking out of Blockbuster Video, and there was a man who was a basketball coach named Luther Coyle who saw me and asked if I played. And I said, no, of course. I said, no, I don't play on a team, but I played in the backyard with my older brothers. So I never played on a competitive team before. He invited me to practice. Thankfully, my mom took me to practice, and I was blown away. Like, these girls were going between the legs, behind the back. All the stuff that we see today was not recorded and documented back then. And these girls were so good, and they were actually winners. What I didn't know about that team is that it was a select team, and it was a team that traveled. And my family didn't travel anywhere besides Memphis, Tennessee, and Mount Bayou, Mississippi. Those were literally the only two places we ever went growing up. And so when I started playing on this team, we started to travel, and I got to see other places. And I will never forget, in Oklahoma City, 1995, it was the national championship, AAU national championship, walking through the parking lot and actually seeing the license plates. And I was like, oh my God, the world is bigger than the 3 places I've been in my life. There were cars from Oklahoma, of course, Oklahoma, but Tennessee and Utah and California. There were people from everywhere. And it was the first time I was around so many people from so many different places. And of course, I wasn't very good when I started, but ultimately I went on to play NCAA Division I basketball, played professionally in Europe, coached NCAA Division I basketball, coached a professional team in St. Louis. But I learned what it means to go from being a novice at something and not being very good to being a pro. And I'm grateful, in the same way that we just talked about, your like passion finds you. I didn't go looking for basketball. It wasn't, back then, NIL deals didn't exist. I wasn't looking for anything from the game. And I'm grateful that the game provided a place where I could become who I am today and be able to explore and see the world. So going to Germany, living in Colombia, and I'm sure I'll be living somewhere else at some point again in the future. But had I not played and been exposed to the game, I'm not sure that I would have had those opportunities.
That's it. Dude, this is incredible. This wasn't one of them teaching days, but it was one of them learning days. You know what I mean? Like, there's some days where you teach and some days you just learn, right? And there's one of my favorite quotes is, more is caught than taught.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't have to teach anything. People will get the message that they need to get out of you just telling your story. And that's why I like these case studies. We're going to start doing case studies probably once a week, just so that we can see that Dave Ramsey was just like us. He was struggling to sell his book. He was just filed bankruptcy. He was about to lose his wife. He had to quit a job that he thought was doing better and start something new. He had to, all of these things that we go through, we're not alone. We're not the only ones doing it, even though as speakers, we feel like we're alone because we're the only one in the room to talk to, right? Willie's experience with what he had to deal with, this is probably the first time he felt like he could talk about it to some people that wouldn't judge him. Y'all know I want to save y'all from going through what I went through, right? So he was willing to share that because of the family community that we've created. Does that make sense? Where we make it where anybody can come and help and get help. That's all that being a speaker is. It's helping and getting help. You're helping by sharing your story, but you're helping yourself by getting stronger within that story, right? So this is one of those more is caught than taught days, because all we did was go over that little outline. But then when hearing what Kevin did and what Valencia's been through and Willie's story and everyone else who decided to share Lawrence and, why he does resilience talks and things of that sort. It's like, oh, this makes sense now. Right? So we're all superheroes with this Clark Kent Superman thing. And a lot of times we too much Clark Kent. You got to put that cape on sometime and show people. Right? There's a great joke. Y'all gonna love this. Watch this. I'm gonna share this with you because this is hilarious. Last year during the football championship, there was a kid who was selling T-shirts. Can you all see my screen? Hold on, let me cancel this. Right? Can you all see my screen here or no?
Yes.
Right. You see Dave Ramsey on there, right? And then let me see if I can share this with you. College game day link, right? Let me share this so you can understand. And this is a funny way to explain this, but y'all gonna die laughing. Some people gonna get it, some people not, right? So
over. Jalen Milroe often wears his own branded apparel reading LANK across the front. It's an acronym that stands for Let a Naysayer Know. Being told by his former offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien.
That is not what I thought.
Is that not what you thought?
Boy, let a naysayer know.
Let a naysayer know.
Of course. The professional's right in the middle of his lead.
That's all right. I just keep going.
You almost lost me. It got real tight up here as you were. I just want to let you know.
Reese, you were too smooth with that. I thought it was going down. It was going down out here.
Oh, sorry about it. Let a naysayer know.
Let a naysayer know.
Naysayer know. That's what we thought the whole time. That's what we all thought.
Those of us who are more.
So let me stop that. Now, some people will understand why that's so funny, and some people won't, right? But sometimes you gotta let a naysayer know, right? Let them know that you got the superpowers you got. Okay, you gotta let them know sometime, right? And sometimes we don't, right? Sometimes we don't. We keep it to ourselves because we've been taught that story that we had was a point of shame, but it's not. It's a point of power, right? So that's my call to action for today. Get out there and let some naysayers know that who you are, that you are more than that you are not just Clark Kent, you're also Superman. You're not just Lois Lane, you may be Wonder Woman or whatever Lois, I don't know Wonder Woman's alter ego. Who was it? Yeah, you gotta pop out sometimes. That's it. Let a naysayer know. I remember watching that live. I'm like, oh, they about to get canceled if he say this one. About to lose his job. All right. Anything else, guys? Go out there and be great. Share your story more. Because eventually, if you do it long enough, there's nothing any different than you and Dave, you and Tony, you and Lisa, you and Brene Brown, you and anyone else. But there's nobody else like you. So let's blaze our own paths, but follow the playbooks that have already been laid before us. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. Let a naysayer know, okay?